Good morning, everybody, and welcome. Welcome. Sorry for the delay in being here live on Saturday morning. Thanks for listening to this. I'm hoping that when the title of this is Depression as a Deficiency of Serotonin, that you're not one, and I pray is not one that's battling depression. I don't know that what I'm going to say is anything new. We've known in the field of medicine that depression is an issue with serotonin deficiency. And because of that, medications have been derived over the years called SSRIs, and it's become one of the most widely prescribed medications used. So what am I going to tell you today that's new? Well, I'm going to help to define just a little bit more around this, and I have some information from Senesco, one of the companies I work with as far as neurotransmitter testing goes. And it's a piece by Connie Shoemaker, a naturopath, on serotonin deficiency and why it is so important to test levels. And I'll go over that in just a few minutes. But I just want to give you the numbers here, 678-228-8900, 678-228-8900. Depression is the most common mental disorder suffered by Americans. The incidence of depression is slightly higher in women than in men. Depression is an emotional state which can have very real physiological basis. In other words, there can be something physically wrong that can lead to depression. Chronic depression is now recognized as a disorder of chemistry, not character. It's not that I'm just a weak person or I have some inherent weakness in me or some melancholy that just makes me into that mode. Decreased production of neurotransmitters, mainly serotonin, but can also include dopamine, the pleasure hormone, norepinephrine, and actually one called acetylcholine, which is linked to dementia and Alzheimer's. They all play a role in dementia or in depression. The imbalance in neurotransmitters, as well as the bombardment of environmental toxic assaults to the body, can create a very real, intense feelings of sadness and despair. Psychological causes must, of course, be addressed. Depression is the most common psychiatric disorder encountered in general medical practices. Over 20 million people in the United States suffer from depression at one time each year. If more than 4 of the symptoms below are experienced, a trained, licensed professional should be consulted. Whatever you hear on the show today isn't something you should try on your own. Got it? Here's some of the signs and symptoms. Depressed mood most of the day, nearly every day. Sadness and guilt experienced almost every day. Chronic fatigue, insomnia, excessive sleep. Don't want to get out of bed. Loss of appetite, weight gain, feelings of worthlessness and suicidal feelings, low self-esteem, inability to concentrate, compulsion to commit suicide, anxiety, lack of motivation or energy. Anxiety. Notice anxiety is one of the sub-pieces under depression. Lack of motivation or energy, diminished interest or pleasure in any activity, nervousness or jitters, despair, loss of sexual desire, irritability, headaches. Now, that's an all-inclusive list. And you may say, well, God, I've got 3/4 of those at any one time. I'm right now dealing with my mother passing away. As we speak right now, she's still alive, but she's in her final hours. And I had an opportunity this morning, and one of the reasons I'm late is I had an opportunity to talk to her via phone. She's in Pittsburgh. To tell her, your family's okay. Everybody's okay. It's time for you to go. And it's one of the most difficult things that an oldest child can do. Just tell the mother or the father, whomever, it's okay to go. Go to your eternal reward. And I feel comfortable in that fact. But dealing with it in anxiety, depression, having to fly back to Pittsburgh, and the concept of a funeral, and please don't get this wrong, I'm not writing her off already. I just know the inevitability. And I know that yesterday First thing in the morning, she had the pleasure time. And I believe she was standing at Heaven's Gate. She was telling me about how beautiful things are and how pleasurable things are. And she had no pain, no anxiety, no problems. So she's almost there. It's a place I want to be someday. So possible causes or contributing factors: excessive stress. That's where I am. Nutritional deficiencies, those that just don't eat right. That could be your kids. Poor diet, including increased caffeine, sugar, white flour, additives. Endocrine disorders such as thyroid issues, food allergies. Excessive drugs, prescribed or not. Alcohol, caffeine, nicotine, etc. Low blood sugar. Amino acid deficiencies, and that's a biggie. Environmental toxicities, genetic predisposition. I don't buy that entirely, but heavy metal toxicity, lack of exercise, gut health, dysbiosis, smoking, or psychological factors. Now, that being said, understanding something. Serotonin is an amino acid-based neurotransmitter. Helps the brain to communicate with the body. It's inhibitory. In other words, its role is to inhibit something from happening, inhibit that excess stimulation to the body or to the brain. So these amino acid-based neurotransmitters are stored at our nerve endings, called axons, the very end of the nerve ending, so that when called upon, they can release and allow the nerve transmission to go. So you need a continual replacement of these in the body, because the body will use it and excrete it. And with the dawn of the whole class of drugs called selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, SSRIs, when medicine discovered those, they thought that would be the panacea. Take those remnants that as they are used and save them, put them back, use them again, use them again. But the mindset in medicine was that these drugs, these medications, actually made more serotonin. And that's the farthest thing from the truth. They can keep you at a sustained level, and in many cases can be life-sustaining, but they never will be the entire answer. Let me read to you from this article. It's real quick. Serotonin is an inhibitory neurotransmitter synthesized from tryptophan, an amino acid. We know that one from what? Turkey? It's found in the central nervous system. It's also found in your blood platelets, and most abundantly in the gut. In the gut. Serotonin is involved in many, many bodily functions. Article goes on to say its counterbalance is glutamate, the main excitatory neurotransmitter, as well as it stimulates the release of the main inhibitory neurotransmitter, GABA. So understanding that there's this intricate feedback mechanism that goes on in the body, that upon a period of stress, there's called for the release of serotonin, which causes the release of glutamate, which causes the release of GABA. And if we have enough of all those, we can deal with the situation. But if we do not, we can run into problems. If the level or function in the body is insufficient, serotonin will not be able to work optimally in regulating excitation or helping with the release of GABA. Without serotonin's modulation and inhibitory effects, the excitatory neurotransmission of glutamate, dopamine, norepinephrine, and epinephrine will all of a sudden be in excess, causing overexcitation that will result in anxiety. That's the tie to anxiety, coming first with depression. It can also cause irritability, poor memory, lack of focus, and poor sleep. Now, here's one you never heard me talk about. St. John's wort is an herb commonly used for depression. It inhibits the reuptake of neurotransmitters such as serotonin. It's as close to Lexapro as we have in the herbal world. It just leaves more neurotransmitters available for potential use. It can also increase their neurotransmitter sensitivity. Vitamin B6 has a variety of positive health effects due to its involvement with neurotransmitters, and it's a necessary cofactor for the production of them. In the active form, pyridoxal 5-phosphate. Vitamin B6 is a cofactor in the serotonergic pathway. B6 supplementation can increase serotonin and dopamine, thus increasing the calming, pain-inhibiting, and pleasurable effects of these neurotransmitters. Pyridoxal 5-phosphate has been found to decrease the severity of depression as well as anxiety, headaches, and pain. Additionally, vitamin B6 may be even more effective in combination with calcium or magnesium supplementation. Now, with that being said, a couple more studies that go into this field. Study finds magnesium may ease depressive symptoms. Magnesium appears to reduce the symptoms of depression and anxiety, according to a new study in the Public Library of Science. Daily supplementation with elemental magnesium leads to a significant decrease in depression and anxiety symptoms, concluded a study team from the Center for Clinical and Translational Sciences at Vermont University. The trial was open-labeled, randomized crossover trial. Commenting on the strengths and limitations, the team wrote, while the crossover design of this trial is robust in controlling for internal biases, it would be reassuring to see if the results could be replicated. Trust me on this one, they have been. A chelated form of magnesium has an amazing way of helping. Now, this study we just did about a little over a month ago. Study finds the antidepressant potential in saffron. The botanical experts call the results encouraging. Saffron fared better than placebo in improving depressive symptoms among mothers with mild postpartum depression, said researchers at Mashhad University. The study was published in the Journal of Phytomedicine. And again, it went on to say, this wasn't the first, but it was probably the most inclusive way that has shown that saffron has mental health benefits. And lastly, because I could go on for hours, depression, the new role for probiotics in nutritional psychiatry. The possibility that probiotics could be a new tool in fighting depression is gaining increasing attention in the field of nutritional psychiatry, says Carolyn Wallace. Probiotics as a novel therapeutic in a clinical sample of depressed patients is the title of a presentation she did in Barcelona, Spain. Although difficult to identify the single most important issue, the key motivator for the development of probiotics as a treatment for depression is that treatments that we have right now are not treating the illness. They're just treating the symptoms. One of the probiotics' big benefits would be getting at the underlying mechanisms of the disorder that is causing the symptoms instead of just putting a Band-Aid on it, which is kind of what I think antidepressants are doing. Another challenge facing scientists right now is, although the area is growing, there is not enough research being done in clinical samples. Most of the research has been done looking at mood symptoms, which have been done in individuals who present with or without any mood disorder. Two more things. 2008 was this study. More than 2 million U.S. adults are clinically depressed. 2018, 10 years later. More than 8 million, 4 times increase. U.S. youths are depressed. They defined a major depressive episode as 2 weeks or longer of depressed mood or loss of interest or pleasure, and at least 4 other symptoms such as problems with sleep, energy, concentration, or self-image. Our kids are going through some tough times now. Lastly, changes to diet may address depression. Tweaks to a diet's nutritional makeup may provide an effective strategy for depression, says a study detailing extended benefits toward management of associated disorders. Eating more vegetables, fruits, whole grains, legumes, fish, lean red meats, olive oil, and nuts led to a significant reduction in depressive symptoms over a 3-month period. At the end of the investigation, a third of the subjects in the dietary support group made the definitions of depression remission. These results were not explained by changes in physical activity or changes of body weight, but were closely related to the extent of the dietary change, said Professor Felice Jacka, Director of Deacon's Food and Mood Center, Deacon's University in Australia. Those that adhere more closely to a dietary program experience the greatest benefit to their depressive symptoms. Importantly, depression is also increases the risk of, and in turn is also increased by common physical illnesses such as obesity, type 2 diabetes, and heart disease. A Mediterranean diet strongly associated with the food components in this study have been linked to a 30% reduced risk for depression, as well as treating chronic diseases. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. Now I want to finish up with just some things that were in the news and to tell you that on Monday, I'm going to comment on that article that came out about 2 weeks ago about cancer mortality continues to decline, driven by progress against lung cancer. And I have a few things to say about that. Coronavirus test becomes more widely available as more Americans evacuees are returning to the U.S. And I understand just in a little blurb in the news just a few minutes ago is the first American has died of coronavirus. The CDC's real-time reverse transcriptase polymerase chain reaction test for coronavirus can now be used at the CDC laboratories. Prenatal high-dose vitamin D doesn't reduce asthma risk in the offspring. High-dose vitamin D supplementation during pregnancy does not lower the risk for asthma or recurrent wheeze in the offspring, according to a longer-term follow-up than the previously reported study. Over 800 pregnant women with a history of asthma, eczema, or allergic rhinitis, or whose partners did so, were randomized to receive either 4,400 IUs or 400 IUs of vitamin D3 daily until delivery, with a lower dose serving as the control. When the offsprings were 6 years old, there were no differences between the groups in the risk for asthma or recurrent wheeze. You know why? They both were taking at least some vitamin D. The diabetes drug rosiglitazone is associated with an increased risk for heart failure. That's nice. Now, I'm going to give you the phone number to reach us if you want more information on this or the fact that we do serotonin testing techniques here at the office. Simple urine catch that you do from home that can tell us what those levels of those neurotransmitters are. Just give us a call here at the office at 678-228-8900, 678-228-8900, 678-228-8900. God bless you, folks. So I have a cashew. See you back here Monday. God bless.